Welcome to Traoré War Room, the channel where we uncover the stories that shake the world and reveal the truth behind the headlines. Stay tuned until the very end of this story, because what Ibrahim Traoré did that day will leave you speechless. Under the ruthless African sun, a narrow dirt road stretched endlessly across a barren land. The heat shimmered like waves of fire, distorting the horizon, where not a single tree offered shade. And then something moved, a tiny silhouette, so fragile it looked like it could disappear in the glare of daylight. As the figure came closer, reality struck like a knife. A little barefoot girl, her dress torn and stained, struggling to carry an unconscious boy in her arms. Her steps were slow, her body trembling, yet her grip on him never loosened. The boy's head hung limply to the side, his face pale with fever. No one was there to help. No one, except the man whose decisions could change the destiny of a nation. This was the moment that would test everything Ibrahim Traoré believed about power, justice, and humanity. The morning had begun like any other for Ibrahim Traoré, a man hailed by many as the face of hope for Burkina Faso. He was on an unannounced visit to one of the most remote regions of the country, a region where the earth cracked open from thirst, where people lived forgotten lives in silence. Here, poverty wasn't a word. It was the air, the dust, the cracked lips of children too weak to cry. The convoy of armored vehicles moved slowly through the rugged terrain. Inside one of them, Ibrahim sat silently, his eyes scanning the landscape through the tinted window. The sight always pierced the soul. Mud huts leaning against each other like broken ribs, barefoot children chasing shadows for play, women with empty water buckets, walking for miles in search of a stream that had long since dried. This was a Burkina Faso most people never saw, and it burned Ibrahim with a sense of urgency. He had promised change, but promises didn't fill stomachs. Promises didn't save lives. His thoughts were interrupted as they entered a desolate stretch of road. The air was heavy, shimmering with heat. Suddenly, something caught his attention. At first, it was nothing more than a dark blur in the distance, a tiny shape moving slowly against the glare of the sun. He leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. As the convoy drew nearer, the blur began to take form, and what he saw made his heart clench like a fist. There she was, a little girl, no older than 8, staggering under the blazing sky, her small body drenched in sweat. She walked barefoot on the scorching dirt, her feet cracked and bleeding. In her thin arms, she clutched a limp boy, her brother. His arms dangled lifelessly, his head lolled from side to side with each shaky step she took. The boy's face was ghostly pale, his lips dry and cracked. He wasn't asleep. He was fading. The convoy came to a halt in a cloud of dust. Soldiers shifted uneasily, unsure why the president had ordered a stop in the middle of nowhere. But Ibrahim had already opened the door. The heat slapped his face like a wall of fire as he stepped out and walked toward the child. Each step felt heavier than the last. When he reached her, he froze. Her eyes met his, wide, hollow, and desperate, yet burning with fire that refused to die. She tried to speak, but no words came out, only a dry whisper, like wind through dead leaves. Ibrahim crouched down and reached for the boy. His body was frighteningly light, his skin burning with fever. The weak rise and fall of his chest told Ibrahim all he needed to know. This boy was dying, and fast. And the girl? She had carried him this far, alone. But why? Where was her family? Where was anyone? The answer lay in her tiny fist, clenched tight against her chest. A crumpled piece of paper with shaky handwriting. The name of a town 20 kilometers away. The nearest clinic. 20 kilometers. On foot, in this heat. She had started the journey when her mother collapsed and never woke up. The truth crashed over Ibrahim like a tidal wave. This child had walked for hours, maybe days, under a merciless sun, clinging to the last shred of hope. Her mother had died yesterday. The girl hadn't even cried. She couldn't. She had no time. Her brother's life depended on her. And so she walked, through dust, through hunger, through pain. Every step carved into her soul like fire. Because when the world forgets you, hope becomes your only weapon. As Ibrahim held the boy, anger surged through him like a storm. Anger at the corruption that bled his nation dry. anger at the officials who sat in air-conditioned offices while children walked barefoot to death, anger at the system that failed the most innocent. This wasn't poverty. This was betrayal. The girl sank to her knees, her strength finally gone. She didn't cry. She simply looked up at Ibrahim with eyes that asked one question: will you save him? And in that moment, Ibrahim knew speeches, policies, promises meant nothing here. Action was the only language left. He roared for medics. They came running, carrying supplies. But as they checked the boy, their faces darkened. Severe dehydration, high fever, malaria suspected. His pulse was fading. Minutes. That's all they had. As the medics worked frantically, Ibrahim's mind raced. The nearest hospital was hours away. Even if they reached it, would they have medicine? Or would corruption and bureaucracy delay treatment until it was too late? He had seen it happen before, and he swore it would never happen again, not on his watch. Then, in a split-second decision that defied every rule, Ibrahim barked an order. We're going to the Presidential Medical Unit. Now. The convoy erupted into motion. Soldiers stared in shock. This was unheard of. That unit was for the highest officials, not for a dying child from a forgotten village. But Ibrahim didn't care. Power meant nothing if it couldn't save a life. The ride was a war against time. Dust clouds swallowed the road as engines roared. Ibrahim held the boy in his arms, feeling the fragile heartbeat slowing with every second. His own heart pounded like a drum of war. The girl sat beside him, her tiny hands clasped together, whispering prayers only she could hear. Finally, they stormed into the Presidential Emergency Unit. Doctors froze in disbelief. But one look at Ibrahim's face told them this was no request. Save him, he commanded. No explanations. No protocols. Just raw authority and desperation. Machines beeped. Needles pierced fragile veins. Oxygen hissed. Minutes crawled like hours. Then a sound, small but powerful. A cough. The boy's chest rose with new strength. His eyes fluttered open. And in that moment, the world stopped. The little girl sobbed, clutching Ibrahim's arm. He held her gently, his own eyes burning. For the first time in hours, he let himself breathe. The boy lived. Slowly, color returned to his cheeks. The little girl never left his side. Ibrahim stood by the window that night, staring at the city lights. His chest was heavy, not with pride, but with rage, at a system that made this story possible. How many more children were out there, walking to death in silence? How many mothers died praying for help that never came? That day changed everything. Within weeks, Ibrahim launched a nationwide emergency healthcare program for children, funded directly from the presidential budget. Critics called it reckless. He called it justice. Because when he looked into that little girl's eyes, he didn't see politics. He saw truth. And now, I leave you with this question. If you were in his place, would you have broken every rule to save a life? Or would you have walked away like so many others? Think about it, and let us know in the comments.